Welcome to the pharmaphorum podcast. This is web editor Nicole Raleigh, and today I have as guest Rob Pears, VP and Head of Automotive, Manufacturing and Life Sciences at Capgemini, which partners with companies to transform and manage their business by harnessing the power of technology. Capgemini is guided every day by its purpose of unleashing human energy through technology for an inclusive and sustainable future. In this episode, we'll be discussing the art of software, namely the Capgemini Research Institute's recent report, The Art of Software, the New Route to Value Creation Across Industries. The Capgemini Research Institute, which is Capgemini's in-house think tank on all things digital, surveyed 1,500 senior executives, director level and above, from organizations with an annual revenue of over $1 billion. The organizations, based in 13 countries across North America, Europe, and APAC, came from a range of sectors, including automotive, consumer products, retail, aerospace and defense, life sciences, banking and insurance, telecom, energy and utilities, high technology, industrial and capital goods, and manufacturing. So across that broad remit, we are, it's fair to say, entering a new era of software-led business, and organizations' software-based revenues are expected to quadruple by 2030. Across industries then, software and software-enabled technologies such as cloud, Internet of Things or IoT, high-performance networks including 5G, and AI and machine learning are accelerating innovation and research and development for products and services, crafting personalized customer experiences, introducing new revenue streams and business models, and, importantly, reducing costs. One of the questions circulating at the moment is whether specifically generative AI or Gen AI is life sciences' ticket to fast-track success. And the report has shown indeed that Gen AI is accelerating transformation towards that software-led era fully. If you're seeking statistics to back up such a statement, then there will be comfort in the report's finding that 72% of firms plan to use Gen AI to assist with software development during this year. Why is all this, though? Well, life sciences and healthcare firms are recognizing that software is not just an add-on, but instead a strategic capability that dramatically changes how companies operate, compete, and deliver value to their customers. According to the report, organizations across all industries are redefining themselves as software companies, transitioning away from traditional hardware-centric business. Currently, a quarter of businesses already identify as software companies, and an additional 32% anticipate transitioning to software company status within the next 3 to 5 years. So, Rob, before we launch into the finer details of the art of software, perhaps you could introduce yourself for listeners. What has your journey been like to today, and what drove you from your educational years to what you do today with Capgemini?
Hi, Nicole, and thank you very much for the introduction and the invitation to be here. Very pleased to have this conversation with you. My personal background, so my journey from educational years saw me take a leap into something that frankly meant I could avoid incurring significant educational fees as university fees kicked in. So I was fortunate enough to get myself an apprenticeship as an accountant, which gave me a great view of what drives how a business operates from a numbers angle. And from that, I had this deep inquisition and desire to get to what I called the front end of business. So it was great looking at the numbers, but how do I really get involved in running business? And through that, I've navigated my way through broadly in technology markets, through the finance side of selling, through key program delivery and technology implementation projects, strategy and planning, and key account ownership and looking after strategic clients. And within that, there's been a very personal connection to research, design, development, and manufacturing industries. And my skill set, I think, has developed in that broad experience in being able to stitch together the best of my organisation for my clients. So that's where, in being a life sciences individual for the last 4 or 5 years now, bringing together the power of my particular organisation, but also looking at the great work that the whole industry does in supporting human life and overcoming challenges with healthcare is something that is very easy to be very passionate about, and now it's a joy to be able to work in that environment every day and help the industry move forward.
Thank you, Rob. So if we turn to the report now, according to the Capgemini Research Institute report, 66% of life sciences organizations cite competitive advantage as a benefit of software-driven transformation. And indeed, life sciences firms expect, the report states, that software-based revenue as a share of overall revenue will increase to 31% by 2030. That's not too far away. Can you comment on these findings for us, Rob?
Yes, sure. So we see a number of streams where this is alive and happening today in creating new business lines. Platforms are becoming much more of a recognised route to engagement with patients and medical professionals alike. What does that mean? It's using software-based technologies to manage data, to manage the experience through whether it be trials or actual treatment processes themselves, all the way through to then connecting medical professionals with more rich and real-time data and information to make more informed decisions and support the patient in that journey as well. In addition to that, we're seeing software become the product much more as well. So not just a platform to engage with, but the capabilities of software as a medical device. The rate of growth that we commented, I think, from our findings in the report, is that market alone is expected to grow at over 23% annually over the next 10 years. So that represents a key competitive advantage in terms of revenue and profit streams for organisations that can unlock the benefit of software in this way. It presents some other challenges. For example, to keep pace with this, skills and talent within pharma and life sciences organisations are going to need to be able to be very competent and literate with working in that way to be able to optimise that opportunity. We also see the pace of adoption in life sciences to be faster than many other industries. So today, just 19% of life sciences organisations see themselves as software companies, but as I think you may have alluded to, in 3 to 5 years, 40% expect to refer to themselves as that. Now, that means that the competition for skills will be hot. That in order to harness that growth opportunity, the talent that will be needed will be keenly sought after. Now that supports a number of other initiatives that UK government has in where we want to be seen as a country in this industry as well. The ability, therefore, to prepare for the pace and extent of that change is also going to be key. Finally, just on the potential revenue streams, the use of this technology in diagnostic activity itself as well is an opportunity, and that reaches into not just life sciences companies themselves, but hospitals and trusts themselves as well, where they can start to collaborate. What does that mean? It means that there's also a need for really effective working across that ecosystem to ensure that the power of that can come together, which is something that represents not insignificant challenge to overcome at times, but something that, if unlocked, represents huge advantage.
Thank you. Yes, you've got this very powerful technology, this software, which is coming sort of uniting the human benefits and practicalities and that passion you mentioned earlier for healthcare. Yes, I do want to stick with the finances just for a minute longer before we go into the wider UK market that you mentioned a minute ago. So life sciences firms are investing 17% of their R&D budgets in software-driven transformation, which is especially significant if you consider that those surveyed for the report belong to organizations with annual revenues of upwards of $1 billion US. Furthermore, firms on average are accelerating their investments in software-driven initiatives, with 60% of organizations saying that investment will increase by 9% from current levels by 2025. That's even closer than the 2030 data earlier. So can you dive deeper into the numbers still, the actual and the potential for us, Rob?
Yeah, sure. So I think with this, the reason I think the timeline is perhaps a bit closer is we are in a stage of economic instability, uncertainty versus the sort of preceding decade or so, which I think is focusing the whole market from a technology perspective, and especially life sciences, on really making sure that investments are going to deliver the benefits. And often at the moment that is related to doing more with less, going faster with less, or straight cost cutting, which is understandable. And that's not new. We've had financial life cycles impact us through various situations over that time as well. I think this time we have a more mature capability around software that it can start to be used as a tool to address some of those challenges as well, and help people with overcoming some of those challenges, especially in R&D, as you refer to there. When we look at the product life cycle, because that's ultimately what some of this software actually is at times, it's a product, that then represents opportunity for managing the product in a more agile way. It means that operations can adapt to new ways of working, to new strategic priorities, or even tactical activity to overcome immediate issues. It also means that the new business line piece we mentioned previously can be supported from the very beginning in the creation of new capabilities, of ongoing maintenance through things like over-the-air updates, personalization, data management, and so on, which will help complete the value chain. It's all very well and good having a great idea for a new go-to-market, a new experience that or a new way of treating a particular condition. But the whole organization has to be stitched together, and that means everything from R&D through the supply chain, any form of manufacturing and ongoing maintenance and aftercare, all have to align. So therefore that investment pace, I think, is going to be required, and it will be a slightly different flavour to perhaps how that money's been spent previously, which can be spent a lot of time on maintenance and compliance. And let's not forget, within all of this, the regulatory and compliance component of this is absolutely key. That means the whole industry, including regulators, becoming comfortable with the way in which this technology is used, and it then becomes incumbent on us as partners into the industry and life sciences firms themselves to be able to demonstrate that. And I think that represents huge opportunity, actually, if the strategic direction is set to be able to take advantage of this technology, then creating the right structures will help accelerate that, which can only be better for patients and the industry. And then finally, when you look at the whole user experience that you're trying to create, and whether that be in the clinical process, whether it be for medical professionals, patients, everything around ease of use, accessibility, how to make sure that you've got the right participation at the right times, all of it can come together to really support a more effective use of R&D budget.
Okay, so thank you for that. That was very full of detail, so listeners will definitely appreciate that. I want to just sort of stick with this notion of becoming comfortable with the technology being used, and I want to return to Gen AI and how the report showed that 7 in 10 organizations plan to use generative AI to complement and augment, important word, existing software engineering in 2024, and expect these tools to assist in the creation of 37% of code in the coming 3 years. Only 28% of organizations surveyed stated that they don't intend to use this tech to aid software engineering in the next 12 months. So I was just wondering if you could touch on the specifics of Gen AI at the moment, and then we'll look at the broader implications.
Yeah, and I would start with as you touched on, and augment is the key. This is the use of this technology in supporting the development, not being the primary. What we see in that use is a balance needing to be struck between the trust in that technology and the need to demonstrate quality and compliance through regulation, and also to be able to have robust test mechanisms that will actually prove the outcome is as desired. AI itself, not necessarily Gen AI, is something that is a much more recognizable technology already in our lives. Anybody who's used a simple chat bot on a website has already been engaging with it, and indeed each time you pick up your own personal mobile device, there'll be elements of AI being used in that all the time. The use of that in life sciences is something that is reasonably well understood. I think making that move into using Gen AI in software development does represent an opportunity to accelerate at times. We need to be careful that we don't end up with a process, however, that then takes just as much effort as it would have done in traditional routes to check and balance everything, because of the various checkpoints that we should make sure are in place. So the adoption and use of it will be something that we will see. I think as we go through more and more control as a technology industry as well, there will be further rules and guidance on how the technology is to be used generally. And we see that as a very welcome component to optimizing the use of what could be huge. You mentioned at the top of this conversation, that is this the silver bullet? Is this something which suddenly transforms everything? And yes, it could be, but there is a way to go to understand exactly how to harness it. There are some organizations already starting to do that, and it's proving to be reasonably successful, but the use cases will need to be very well controlled.
Thank you. Yes, a ticket to fast-track success was my expression, but as you say, there's a journey to go before then. So let's think a little more broadly now, sort of UK broadly. What implications does all this have for the UK market, given, as you mentioned earlier, the current economic instability or uncertainty and governmental focus on making this country an AI hub, and also touch upon those notions of competitiveness and talent mentioned earlier on?
Yeah, so what this means, I think, so if we look at UK government desire around data and AI, I mean, firstly, great. It's really encouraging to see that we recognise the ability for the UK to play a major role on the global stage in this area. We have had, if we go right back to what enables this, we need education to focus on that in the right way. So having STEM on the curriculum as we have in recent times, my own children have been coding from before I even, from primary school, and that as a core capability is absolutely essential in computer literacy, and there will be therefore a continuum of that in needing to make sure that we support that aim at every stage. So we can do that at the basic educational level. We can do it through further education, but then to bridge the gap, one of the pleasing things that we've seen, and I'm directly involved with one such organisation such as NMIC, the Medicine Manufacturing Innovation Team, the catapults and the investment hubs that bring academia and technology and the industry together to fast track innovation and to find ways to embed and utilize technology, I think are really encouraging and something that I'm really, I mentioned to you previously, it's a great thing to be able to be at the forefront of being able to get together with some like minds and just identify some challenges and work out how we might utilize respective technologies, perspectives, and so on to open up new value is a great thing for us to be able to be part of. Within there are some specifics. We've touched on Gen AI. That cannot be ignored. That's something that needs to be understood more fully. But before we get there, I think it means that in the UK market, we also have a lot of work to do to prepare for exploiting that. So we will need organisations to adopt strategies and commit to them as well that see through the adoption and use of that technology and of the possibilities that we see. Getting into a couple of points of detail, which we've touched on, data, one of those things that we touch every day, but understanding the structures of your data, understanding the way in which it needs to be used, understanding how to protect it, understand how to monitor it, understanding how to feed it into the right places at the right time, and how to structure it so that you're making really informed decisions in a timely manner, is something which is so basic as a foundation to enable exploitation of it that it has to be got right. So there are a number of things that need to be considered rather than just jumping ahead, because otherwise you end up with that old notion of sort of rubbish in, rubbish out, and therefore it doesn't matter how amazing the capability may be. And within that, as I touched on, connecting that up through the supply chain and ecosystem, having ways of working and a procurement team that can work and reflect that as well, understanding what resilience you need within that supply chain, how you're going to manage it, quality and efficiency, and all of those components will be really important. Back to what it means in the current market, I think it represents opportunity. I think it gives us clarity on actually where we can go and where we can play a role. I think if I look at the clients that I'm working with, I'm seeing more investment in that R&D chain, in technology, in the clinical process, in software, which directly maps to the UK's stated ambition in these areas. So it feels to me like the industry's pretty well aligned and everybody's prepared to go on that voyage of discovery together, because it's not a path that's well trodden. And touched on it a couple of times as well, with the right talent and education behind it, then I think the future looks pretty bright.
Yes, you've preempted my final question there, Rob. So you've mentioned these key words of quality, understanding and education, strategy. When it comes then to this notion of the art of software, is there a clear formula for success?
So I'd touch on two things, whether it's a clear formula. So it's a perspective, I guess, for those listening. We have to make sure that organisationally, the opportunity around this technology is recognised, but it also has to be committed to. There is an attitude element to this as well. So it's great to read in many reports that in future we will be software companies, we will be exploiting data and so on. That doesn't happen just because it is said. It has to manifest itself into the change programs and the commitment to changing investment profiles and a number of other things we've touched on already in the conversation. The business case does need to be clear, and that can take more time and investment up front than perhaps traditionally to understand those things, but the investment is worth it. If that time is taken to really understand, it gives you a much more certain path, because at that point it's just a technology implementation. Now, I say that's not a throwaway statement. It's difficult, it can be tricky, but once the business case is really well understood and the desired outcomes and the designs can be put in place, that is absolutely something that is then just more business as usual from a technology implementation perspective. In our report, we did highlight from our research a 6-pillar approach, which I'll just mention them, but I won't go through all of them in detail. There's a loop around strategizing, as I mentioned, making sure that the design is there for human-centric and sustainable use of technology, collaboration with the ecosystem, strengthening your talent and skills, making sure your organization is set up to be a software product and services centric organization, and not forgetting to streamline using traditional development methodologies, but also software factories and the use of Gen AI as well. So there's those points of guidance that through our research we've identified and tend to help. And I think going through those 6 pillars can really help as a structure, as a first point, and then that should hopefully set some decisions in motion to support this.
Thank you. Yes, a sort of directional structure for this voyage of discovery, but a voyage well worth it. Thank you, Rob. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And so that concludes another episode of the pharmaphorum podcast. You can find out more information about this episode, including a download link and information about previous installments of the series at pharmaphorum.com/podcasts. The pharmaphorum podcast is also available on iTunes, Spotify, Acast, Stitcher, and Podbean, where you can find and subscribe by searching for pharmaphorum. Of course, don't forget to visit our website itself, where you can sign up for daily news and analysis bulletins, and follow us on Twitter, or X nowadays, at pharmaphorum. That's all for now. Thank you for listening.